city's a street, by land or by sea, together forever is my favorite place to be.
Hello! Guess what season it is? It's boat work season.
Yeah, it's no longer cruising season. It's time to fix the boat. So that's what we're doing. And improve the boat, not just fix, but make it better. Still are laid off, so don't have much money coming in, so we have to do cheap projects, but still good projects. So a cheap-ish project that we are doing is redoing the floors. The salon floor is kind of a bigger, we have to tear up the subflooring and stuff because it's rotten, but we want to make the whole boat match. So we're starting the project of putting new floors on. So we're trying this premium vinyl flooring that like interlocks with itself, and so far we like it. So it's been a little bit tricky trying to figure out how we're gonna do it for like these curved corners and stuff, but first attempt, not so bad. I'll show on the next one how I did it and my learnings and stuff like that. But I'm basically using the same strategy as I did for the Corian, which I figured it's almost impossible to cut these perfectly. So I'm leaving a little bit of an overhang, and then I'm gonna go glue them down and run around it with a router and make it perfect. So that's my strategy. So I'm working on this bathroom. We're putting the vinyl flooring down. We originally wanted to use like vinyl sheets so we didn't have to mess with cutting individual pieces, but we couldn't find any vinyl sheets that we really liked the quality of. And I'm sure they exist, but it would have taken a lot of time. We found these things, which is premium quote-unquote vinyl, but we decided to use these because they fit together so nicely that you can't even feel the seams between the two pieces. And they're not that thick. They're water resistant and everything. They're not made out of wood, made out of plastic. And when they go together, you can't even see the seams really. So that's why we're using these pieces, clipping them together. I've already done that side of the boat, mostly, except for the bathroom. And we're just do little room by little room at a time. Then we'll do the big floor up there as like a big project.
The next big project is to do the floors. And this is what we've been hiding. We filled up our water yesterday, and this is what happens.
If it overflows.
Yeah, if it overflows.
If the anchor locker gets excess water in it, it overflows into the salon. Over the past 20 years, this has meant that the salon sole has rotted out.
Yeah, and it's been getting worse and worse and going all the way down here. So this is a big project we've been needing to do since we bought the boat.
Do it now because it's fairly cheap, it's just inconvenient. Well, 3 things. Tear up all the old stuff, find where the leak is coming in, fiberglass that, and then put new stuff in.
Yep. Good luck, Ryan.
So the AC's on, so I'm gonna speak up, but I'm just gonna slowly start cutting away flooring until I find flooring that's not rotten. Presumably this was marine ply under here. 20 years of water ingress can probably rot even marine ply. So yeah, I'm assuming it's going to be a big section here that I'm going to have to cut out. This underneath, it's just fiberglass, as this is a section we've already removed. So.
Well,
yeah.
We didn't. It was like that when we bought the boat.
Yeah. So you can see that this plywood under here is just soft. So we're going to keep cutting until the wood is not like this.
Even Kira's like, what's going on?
So I've been kind of exploring. This wood is all hard the whole way through over here. So this is good wood. Over here, it starts to get hard. You can actually see where it starts to go from soft to like harder stuff. Probably still cut back further because it's a little bit soft.
Yeah.
But it's definitely worse over here. So maybe it follows a line from here to here. This problem is actually pretty common in this model boat. And somebody we know had delamination in their fiberglass. So that's kind of the worst case scenario here, is that we have some delam and I'll have to like grind it out and put new glass in, which I'm not really wanting to do, but if we have to, we have to. I was a little bit worried this might happen because I had met another one of these owners with this happening, but I've never seen this in person. So the delamination under, I suspected, I got most of the bad wood up. I suspected that underneath there might be some delamination. What it really was rotten coring. And I've never experienced rotten coring before. And this is all above the water line, so it's not like we're gonna sink the boat. It's a problem that I can fix even in the water, but it's just gonna be a pain. More work than I thought, but that's how every single boat project ever goes. So I gotta figure out how many places this is rotten under the floors, cut that fiberglass up, clean it all up, and put it all back together. It is what it is. It's just, and just like that, it's a new day. Jessica and Kira spent last night, and probably tonight, and maybe the next night, at a friend's house because I'm just making such a big mess in here, and it's just not really baby friendly right now. So I tore away the top layer of the coring last night as much as I felt like I needed to, and discovered all the soft spots that were in and around the leak area. So now I just need to tear away a little bit more of the clearly black coring and go find a replacement. It's not really a big enough job to justify buying a whole sheet of balsa wood, so I'm looking at alternatives. One alternative might be to actually just buy some hobby balsa wood and end grain cut it and see if that, well, that should work because it's a balsa wood. And the whole point of the end grain is to make it sturdy compression wise. So I think I've discovered all the bad scary things now, so it's time to move on to fixing. So if we look at this closer, you can see that the original top layer here is just fiberglass. So I would cut little sections of the fiberglass away, and then underneath you have balsa coring. So this is healthy balsa, and then this was where it's starting to go bad, and when it's unhealthy like that, it's just rot and it doesn't support at all. So I'll probably cut away the questionable stuff on the edges. And this is just a little bit of glass and underneath gel coat. I don't want to step on any of this because it would probably crack and maybe even tear. It's just the bottom of the boat. And I'm actually not 100% sure how thick it is, but I'm not going to chance it. The day is wearing on. The floor is looking better. I peeled away a lot of the rotten wood. So right now, all the balsa that's left has a lot of integrity to it. There's a little bit of moisture maybe, but it's pretty strong. So it's about time for me to start filling it. I could not and cannot find replacement balsa anywhere. I'd have to order online and it would take a while to get here, and I'm not about to do that. So I'm gonna use this stuff. This is poplar, and I'm gonna cut it so it's end grained up at the same thickness, and I'll just use it. It's not quite as light, it's a hardwood, it's not quite as light as balsa, but I'm only doing a little bit of repair work, so the overall weight's not gonna be an issue. I don't see any other reason why I couldn't use poplar for this small repair. It's all gonna be covered in epoxy anyways, so. Somebody will probably tell me I'm wrong in the comments, but this stuff is stronger than balsa, and it's not supposed to get wet, just like balsa's not supposed to get wet. So it'll do the trick. So that's what I'm gonna do tonight. I'm gonna try to get this cut and then try to get this whole thing glassed up so that we don't have this coring visible. It's my first test cut. We'll see how these fit. All right, I think we can make that work. So now I just need to make like 40 more of those and I can fill the floor up and that'll be good. Ooh, the sun is going down and I got a lot more work ahead of me. So it's good that Jessica and Kira are staying at our friend's house because I'm gonna be working late into the evening. But it is pretty out here. It's like the $1 million view for free. We learned a lesson too. See how far we are anchored from the marsh back there. We tried anchoring closer, but it just doesn't work. In addition to all the extra bugs that you get when you're a little bit closer to it, you also get birds on your boat. And it's the simple difference of being an extra 150 feet away from shore, but we're further away from the bugs, we're further away from the shallows, and then that also means the birds don't sit on our spreaders anymore. I think they sit on the spreaders when we're closer to the shallows because they're looking for fish, but out here where it's deeper, there's no fish swimming near the surface, so it's just a win-win-win-win, and we're protected by a sandbar back there, so we're not near the channel. This is really like a perfect spot. I have been working, and I have found a pasting for doing the epoxy work, so I'm going to just show you what I've been doing for the past little bit for the next group of blocks. So the first step I'm doing is I'm just doing a very good scraping to clean up the any free like detritus that's around in the bottom here. Then I'm doing a bit of an acetone wash down just to take a little bit more of the debris off, help remove some dust and just clean up the glass. Now it's time to mix up some epoxy and thicken it. I've been doing 4 pumps of this Total Boat 5:1 epoxy. 1. And then 4 pumps of hardener. Now stir it up, just a moderate amount. Doesn't have to be perfect because I'm going to mix the thickening agent into it, and then when I mix the thickening agent into it, it will we'll stir some more. I've been doing a mix between 406 and some of the lighter weight 410 fairing compound, just because this stuff is the thickened epoxy is just mostly filling the holes. Then we stir all this together. It's a little bit heavy on the epoxy just because I want this to have more epoxy than filler for a little bit of increased strength and to make it a little bit more liquid. So I'll keep stirring. Now I'm going to pour the thickened epoxy into the channel here. I'm just going to kind of let it flow. Like I said, I mix it thin enough to where it will flow. Not quite as thick as like peanut butter consistency. So now that the channel is filled with the thickened epoxy, I've just been placing the blocks, wiggling them down. This way they have epoxy underneath them and between them. I'm using the fast hardener, so as long as I don't make this too thick, it will set up pretty nicely and won't get too hot. And that's how I've been doing it. Once all this cures, I'll go back and kind of sand the top down, and we'll work on adding more thickened epoxy to just kind of level it out some, and then we'll start applying glasses to add some strength to this core that we're making. It's taken a lot longer to get to this point than I thought it would, but the deck is, all the rot's removed and it's filled and faired and ready for glassing. So I'm pretty beat. It's taken 2.5 days pretty much to tear the floor up and get to this point, but once we put the glass on, then I can probably get, tomorrow's Monday, I can get the wood and start putting it all back together. It's looking good, and it's already feeling a little bit more stable. It could be just me in my head, but it feels a little bit more stable now. I'm gonna put at least 1 layer of glass on. I'll probably put 2 to 3 layers of glass on of 1708, so it's the thicker stuff, just to make it all really sturdy and tie it together. And I'm not gonna worry about using chop strand to like blend all the edges together because we're not fairing it out. It's going onto the floor, it just needs to be strong, and that's what 1708 is good at. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna call it a day and let that cure. Got glass all over me, I just can't wait to wash this off. So you can see that it's pretty smooth with the poplar and the filled compound, the thickened epoxy.
And I tried to blend the edges as much as I could. There's still a little bit of a height difference, but I'm going to put a layer of glass inside and then a couple layers on top to even it out some. But it's pretty good.
And just like that, it's the next day. The floor is looking pretty good. We're ready to put the subflooring on top of the floor now. And then tomorrow, we can start putting the pretty stuff on, hopefully, if I get all this in the night, which is a tall order, but we're gonna try it out. So here's what we got. Multiple layers of glass, between 2 to 3 layers of glass, depending on where. In no particular order, just kind of made it thick and made it strong. So it's all sealed up with fiberglass now. I also drilled holes in various places, especially here where there was drill holes that were kind of deep. And so I drilled them out and then drilled another hole inside of it just to test the coring in various spots. And all of the various spots were good. There was no rot or anything. So I then filled those holes with just epoxy, so they're all sealed up. Now it's time to put the subflooring down. Couldn't really get a single piece that was gonna fit it all, just because the dimensions. This thing is 48 inches wide and they have a 50-inch wide gap, so we're gonna have to get clever. I'm gonna use epoxy and glue to put it down, and then we're gonna use the old boards in the existing floor to like use screws and make sure it's level. I'll show you. Flooring, subfloor, fiberglass. I am making progress. It's 10 o'clock and I've got one piece of the floor mostly done and all the other pieces cut. And I got really lucky too. Out of the entire 4x8 sheet, I only had 2 little pieces left over. These 2 pieces are all that's left of the 4x8 sheet. I would have had to buy a whole nother sheet had I not been able to make fit what I had fit. So I got a couple big pieces here, a couple small pieces which I don't love, but I'm gonna epoxy them really good so it's like all a single solid unit. So over here, I filled the holes in like you saw. I made sure to push that thickened epoxy really deep down in a few times to make sure it like spread out underneath the board. And then I used thickened epoxy right here to fill the gap. It's a little bit of thicker gap than I kind of wanted to do, so in this next boards I'm doing a slightly thinner gap and I'll use a thinner epoxy. So I use these boards right here with screws to pull this board up, make it nice and even as you can see here. But I learned that I should probably put these boards on this piece or these pieces first and then screw them down, because otherwise it's kind of tricky. So these are the big pieces that I have left to do. I'm gonna drill holes in like I did there because it worked pretty well. I'm gonna pre-mount the things to make it flush, and I'm gonna do this big piece and this little piece first. Then I'm gonna do those pieces over there. "1:30 in the morning. I got to pour epoxy into the little holes and firm everything up. I might save the last little round of epoxy for the morning, and should be able to start doing the top flooring, which is exciting because that's the new stuff. So Alright, they gotta do some epoxy work. Getting tired here. Floor stuff set up nicely. I'm still waking up. So I'm gonna take these pieces off and then fill in all the rest of the little gaps with thickened epoxy, and that should be the last of what I need to do to fully firm this up. The only thing I'm watching out for when I take these off is that the two pieces of floor stay equal with each other. If I start to take one off and it like separates a little bit, then I need to do some work to make sure it doesn't do that by putting some more epoxy around it. Also, I made sure that these screws that I'm taking out were all short enough to make sure that they didn't puncture through and get into the coring below. Welcome, my fellow floor warriors. The floor is level, it's flat. So now it's time to put in the pretty panels. The problem is to make it look fancy and flush and like it's part of the boat. I'm having to squeeze the panels under this flange thing here, and it's glued down with some 4200 or something. So I'm having to like dig that out with the oscillating tool, and then use wedges to pry everything up just a little bit to get these panels underneath, and it's a really slow process. But I'm doing the hard part right now, which is this corner of the cabinetry that runs with the grain. As soon as I get to where the settee is, it'll go a lot faster, hopefully. Definitely not gonna finish tonight, but I want to get at least more than half the floor done tonight. In some spots, the shape of the flange is too stiff and has a little bit extra glass on it. I just can't get it to come up. So I'm just cutting away a little bit of excess here. I clearly wasn't doing anything, so just being in the way. And now my test piece fits all the way in there, so now I know I'll be able to put a real piece in. Alright, after some cursing, it's in and good. So that's the hard part. Now I can back out and start doing strips down the long of it. Should be really easy now. I'll go faster. Maybe I'll do a time lapse. That time lapse died like right after I started it. I got about a third of the floor done last night. I'm just worn out. I'm ready for this to be over. Oh, I'm so sick of sitting on the floor. I've been sitting on the floor for like a week now. Today is one of those days to where it's hot, even in the inside with the air conditioner on. But I've got one last piece of the flooring to do, and I'm done. But it's a fiddly bit behind the thing over here. So I've got all of this around here. I just have to get a piece back in there, and I'm done! I need to route the corners of this step and the other step over there. But then I'll be done! And I'll clean up and I'll get some glamour shots for you. So one last piece, and then it's just like routing and clean up and... Alright, one last piece. Not bad. Not bad. This video actually comes out tomorrow. I gotta go give the footage to Jessica so she can start editing, and I'll clean up, and then I'll do one last little bit of filming of like the glamour shot. Ooh, it's thundering. I'm gonna put tools away. And that'll be what I leave you with. Thanks for watching this refit video. This project ended up being one of the bigger projects I feel like I've ever done on here. Just took, including the holes and up here and fixing this took a long time. Wasn't that expensive, all things considered. It was a lot cheaper doing it ourselves. Just there's a lot of backbending work. Whew, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next video. Bye.
Do do do